You know, sometimes this life can get rough. You get knocked down, but you gotta get up. Keep going. I'd have been knocked down.
Hi, I'm Steve Purvis, Project Manager for Accurascale.
1,000 miles, feeling so tired, but you know I can't stop now. Came way too far, won't throw.
So it's been a while since we had a proper full-fat Accurascale announcement.
I ain't going nowhere, yeah, I'm standing right here. Demons all around, but I ain't got no fear.
What better place to be doing such a big announcement than here at Brush Traction, the birthplace of many classic British diesel electric locomotives.
Now, but I won't be burned. I was waiting for this and now it's my turn. Sweat on my face, blood in my eyes.
And I'm delighted to be here to announce our new project.
Now you can last longer. All these wounds only making you stronger. Don't give up now, yeah, you gotta climb. But we give it to all until the end, until the end of time.
We ain't going nowhere. We'll be standing right here until the end of time. Till the end of time. We ain't going nowhere. We'll be standing right here until the end of time. Till the end of time. Until the end of time. Until the end of time.
Yeah. Been through a whole lot, but we overcome. Enemies in our face, but we ain't gon' run. Never drift off course, always stay on mission. Won't slow us down, cause we way too driven. Yeah, we put in these 10,000 hours. You won't stop us, cause we got the power. Whole world is watching, and I hope they ready. From here on out, we are legendary. You can kick me round, but I won't stay down. I run this town, ain't backing down. We going them rounds. Yeah, the winds will blow, but these roots too deep. I'm on my feet, the underdog, and I won't be beat. Turn the lights up now, welcome to the show. I ain't never gonna stop, this is all I know. My eyes on the prize, until I die. I'm gonna rise, level up to the skies. Yeah, we here now, we were chosen. All the pain brought us to this moment. Watch everything we work for, fall in line. We gon' get
We're doing Class 60.
We'll be standing right here until the end of time. Till the end of time. We ain't going nowhere. We'll be standing right here until the end of time. Till the end of time. Until the end of time. Till the end of time.
So we're here at UKRL's base over in Loughborough at the former Brush Works site where Class 60 was born. We've been visiting these locomotives for the last 2 years with kind permission from DCR and Kappa because this is their spares pool. And these locomotives give us an opportunity, some of which have been stored for many years, to visit locomotives with features that haven't been seen on the network for a good 10, 15, 20 years. We've got a variety of detailing options from fuel tanks to roofs to lights to horns, then they're all here. So this gives us a real good grounding where we can make the ultimate Class 60. So what is a Class 60? Well, I mean, the Class 60 was the last British-built heavy freight locomotive. It wasn't a mixed traffic loco, it was designed for moving 3,000 tons of freight in one go. It's got the best handling, the best cab. The whole package was designed around driver comfort and efficiency in doing its job. The Accurascale 60 will mirror this. It will be a cutting-edge model of this iconic design. Where did the 60 start? Well, back in the 1980s, BR heavy freight sector was looking for a new locomotive to power its trains. Not a mixed traffic type, but a heavy freight locomotive. And Brush Traction, along with several others, tendered for that contract. And the design was to build 100 locomotives in a very, very short space of time. In fact, just about 18 months from design to delivery meant that these locos were pushed straight into work. Yes, there was some initial problems with them, but they were soon overcome and they just settled down to moving freight around the country. All told, 100 locomotives went into service, and to this day only one has been cut up. Many are stored like this, awaiting their turn to be brought back into action. With such a short space of time between concept and delivery, many of these locomotives were modified almost on the fly. Many people think that these are all the same. All 100 rolled off the production line and looked all the same for the period of their lives. But in fact, there's a very interesting period of time along the start of their timeline where many modifications were made. Shall we have a look? So just over 18 months ago, we came here to this site and surveyed this very locomotive. This was the one that we picked that had got the most complete selection of parts on it at the time. It gave us good access to get all the way around with a 3D scanner. So this locomotive was the foundation of the Accurascale Class 60 range. Many people think that these locomotives that were all built in the late 80s and early 90s were all the same. But in fact, from their very introduction, they were modified almost on a weekly basis to get them to be the mountain movers that they became. I'd like to take this opportunity to take you around a Class 60 and we'll show some of the features and details that changed over time and how we've incorporated those into the Accurascale tooling suite. So it's only right that we start the Accurascale 60 story with 001. Now unfortunately 001 can't be here with us today, but we've got 009 which exhibits some of those early features. So when 60001 first rolled out of these very works back in 1989, it exhibited some very different features to what we know later on the class. There were things like the twin exit exhaust silencer, which was soon replaced to a single exit because it dragged the exhaust fumes back through the clean air room. There's things like the plain engine room roof panel, which has got no vents or scavenger fans in there, which was later changed because of overheating problems with the engine. So the first dozen or so locos even had a different design of lamp bracket. This one being a three-piece, made from 3 separate parts. Later it was revised to be a 2-piece one. When they were first outshopped, they also featured a 2-piece window in both the driver's side and the second man's side. But again, due to driver feedback, that was changed to be a 3-piece window that we know today. One feature that many people associate with 001 is actually the grey snow ploughs. They weren't a steel plough like the later ones that you can see here with the cutout, but they were actually a giant fiberglass piece that didn't have the cutout in and were painted grey. It wasn't just limited to 001 because 002 and 3 had them as well, but they were soon changed for the steel ones once they got broken. So I've found my way into the rad room of 60061, which has conveniently lost this side grille, but it allows me to show you another feature that's very little known about Class 60. Early on, when they were first introduced, when working MGR trains, there was an infrared scanner for detecting wagons, and it could actually see all the way through the locomotive and would count it as a wagon. So one of the early mods that was done at March Depot was to add these T-shaped plates, and there was another one just behind my head, which stopped the scanners going all the way through the locomotives. Now all of the locos were eventually fitted with these, but very early locos like 001 to 12 didn't get them when they left Brush. So one of the standard features of a Class 60 in this area, which is the air compressors. In between the 2 air compressors, one each side, is an air receiver. Now this air receiver was relocated up into the radiator room when the long-range fuel tanks were fitted to some of the load hall members and then others later on in their lives. I'm slightly more caged in now because this one's still got its grille on, but conspicuous by its absence is the air cylinder that should be here. This illustrates that this is a short range or a standard fuel tank locomotive. When the fuel tanks were extended range, the air receiver on the bottom of the loco was moved up into this space here, and we'll see if we can find one of those for you to look at. So we're going back to 60080, and this is one that's had the load hall fuel tank modification. So this extra fuel tank was installed in between the 2 compressors, meaning the air receiver had to be relocated up into the radiator room. So as we can see, with the long-range fuel tank, the air receiver has now been relocated into the rad room just here. So 60098 is also here, and this is a special locomotive for here because it was the 1000th locomotive built at this works, and it was actually named Charles Francis Brush and carried a commemorative plaque just under the nameplate. But it's more useful to us today. We can see from what's missing here is the fiberglass corner panel over the buffer beam. When the locos were first delivered, again back in the late 80s, early 90s, none of these were fitted. So as you'll see on our model, the early locomotives have got an exposed end to the buffer plank, whereas the later ones have got the more commonly seen fiberglass corners. So at this end of 60080, we can see the bracket that was fitted over the horns to carry an aerial. Now, this was only fitted by EWS, so will correctly be present on some of our later models. A couple of noticeable features on the front of a Class 60 as well, which weren't always the way that they look now. You'll find the multiple working socket door over the front here was originally just a cover plate, but also due to ventilation issues in the cab, this scoop was added very early on onto the early locomotives. One feature of all these locomotives is the fact that they've been stored for so many years, but that means they've retained their original BMAC lighting clusters. Later models, such as those refurbished for DCR, have got the new LED style lights, which we have on our model. Let's talk about roofs. On these have all received the full suite of modifications to the engine room roof panels. When first built, the roof panel here was plain all the way over, nothing but rivets. Later on, when the engines were prone to overheating, they added first 2 pairs of scavenger fans and associated vents. This was done during the sector period. Later on, during the Shadow franchise period, a 3rd vent was fitted onto the same roof panel, and that's what can be seen today. So we're here in 25 shop at UKRL's Loughborough site, which many will know as Brush Traction. Behind me is 60099, which is a DCR operated locomotive that's just been overhauled. We brought you in here to tell you more about the features on your Accurascale 60 and what to expect from all of our standard models. So from a lighting perspective, we've got a full suite of independent head, tail lights, marker lights, and where relevant, bi-colour LEDs on the more modern locomotives. That complements the separately controlled cab lights and desk lights as well. But as a feature on the 60 in particular, it's noticed when some of them run in the dark that you have the illuminated rad room. So we've also put an LED in there, so that will be on a separate control too. Each model is faithfully reproducing its original livery using original specification colours, so you can be assured that your model will look right to you. And of course, you don't have to take the body off to get into the decoder because, as an Accurascale standard, we've got the magnetic roof panel to get in there. We've got 60099's bogie here. On an Accurascale 60, the bogie comes with several standard features. There's space in there for your EM and P4 wheel sets, there's helical gears, and there's a hall sensor for automatic detection of bogie rotation to automatically activate your flange squeal noises. That's about it from me here at UKRL in Loughborough. What a fantastic day to be announcing the Class 60 project at the birthplace of the real Class 60s. It's been a pleasure to bring the Accurascale 60 into the public domain for the first time. For more details of the models that are available from us or from your local retailer, please look in the description below. All that's left for me to do now is to sort out those exclusives.